Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimbrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhudale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadanti Supatantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Rugunatam Vidam Samsajivam Sadvedam Savadudam Parjana Saidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lilita Shri Vishakham Vidam Syam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Govika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Budre Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiret Nashta Prayeshu Madreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayal Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistige Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Rangayade Girim Yatgapatam Mande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyamishwaram Yonda Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Sukham Sanjeeva Yadi Agila Shakti Darasudamnam Anyamcha Hasta Charana Shravanatwagadin Pranam Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Tamadi Devam Karuna Nidhanam Tamala Varnam Suhitavataram Apara Samsara Samudra Sedam Bhajamahe Bhagavata Swarupam Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshi Aksharayade Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Hare Krishnaya Namostume. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam session. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 22. Right? Is it 22?
Yes, Prabhuji.
22.
Yes, Prabhuji. Correct.
Ashrutya tadrishi ganavacha parikshit samam madhuchyot guru chavinakam abhasati abhasatainan abhinandya yuktan shushrusha manas charitani Vishnu. Chinmay Mataji and Prabhu. Hare Krishna, it's not there. Okay, Rajeshwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Ashrutya tadrishi ganavacha parikshit samam madhuchyat gurucha vyalekam abhasataina vincha yuktam sashrusha mani charitani Vishnu. Hare Krishna. All that was spoken by the great sage was very sweet to hear, full meaning and appropriately presented and perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of the Lord Sri Krishna, the person of Godhead, concludes the great sages.
All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaja Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the great sages. So all these great sages assembled on the bank of the Ganges, when Maharaja Parikshit took a vow that he is going to fast until death. So this is after hearing them, he was just very pleased, because now he is desiring to hear the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. So he congratulated the sages assembled there. Samagata sarvada eva sarve veda yatha murti dharastri prishte nehata namutra cha kashanartha rite paranugraham atmashilam. Bhagavati Mataji and Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Samagata sarvatra eva sarve vedayata murtidharastri prishte nehatana mutra chakasyanatra nartha ite paranugraham atmashilam.
Hari Bol.
Krishna translation. The king said, O great sages, we have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, and but for this you have no interest either in this life or in the next life. Next.
The king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, and but for this you have no interest either in this life or in the next. So from this we have to understand that the great sages assembled there, they are not ordinary people. They are coming from all parts of the universe, different planetary systems. They are not just only from the earthly planet, from different planets of the different parts of the universe also. So 6 kinds of opulences, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and enunciation, are all originally the different attributes pertaining to the absolute personality of Godhead. The living beings who are part and parcel entities of the Supreme Being have all these attributes partially up to the full strength of 78%. In the material world, these attributes, up to 78% of the Lord's attributes, are covered by the material energy. As the sun is covered by a cloud, the covered strength of the sun is very dim compared to the original glare, and similarly the original color of the living beings with such attributes becomes almost extinct. There are three planetary systems, namely the lower worlds, the intermediate worlds, and the upper worlds. The human beings on earth are situated at the beginning of the intermediate worlds, but living beings like Brahma and his contemporaries live in the upper worlds, of which the topmost is Satyaloka. In Satyaloka, the inhabitants are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom, and thus the mystic cloud of material energy is cleared. Therefore, they are known as Vedas personified. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge, both mundane and transcendental, have no interest in either the mundane or transcendental worlds. They are practically desireless devotees. In the mundane world, they have nothing to achieve, and in the transcendental world, they are full in themselves. Then why do they come to the mundane world? They descend to different planets as messiahs by the order of the Lord to deliver the fallen souls. On the earth, they come down and go and do good to the people of the world in different circumstances, under different climatic influences. They have nothing to do in this world save and except reclaim the fallen souls rotting in material existence, deluded by material energy. So Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport. So there are 6 opulences, full possessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in partial the living entities are also there. So 78% of these opulences in minute degree can be possessed by even the living entities. That is also, covered, just like the sun is, covered by the clouds. Okay. And there are three different planet system: upper, middle, and lower. So we are in the middle planet system. The upper planet system, above the Swargaloka, there are exalted devotees, okay, who are, actually they are in full knowledge of Vedas, okay, and the very purpose of their being there is, to just save the people on the earthly planet from the repeated cycle of birth and death. That is that. They're all, devotees of the Supreme Lord. They're always glorifying the Supreme Lord. Those who are residing above the Swargaloka, okay, up to the Swargaloka, they all want to enjoy. But those devotees who are above the Swargaloka, all pure devotees of the world, and always glorifying the Supreme Lord. And sometimes, they also come, and directly or indirectly, they want to reclaim the human beings who are, under the clutches of Maya or material energy of the Supreme Lord. So this is what, Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport for this verse. So they have nothing to do in this world. Who? The people or the denizens of that upper planet system. Save and accept, reclaim the fallen souls, rotting in this material existence, delivered by material energy. That is the purpose of their coming down. They are not delivered by material energy, but however, their purpose is to reclaim us, fallen souls like us. This is what Prabhupada says. So any comments, or somebody wants to contribute? Okay, we'll go to the next then. Tadasyava Pritsyamimam vipritshe vishrabhya vipra iti krityatayam sarvatmana mriyaman manaischa krityam shuddham cha tatram rishatabhiyuktaha. Okay. Achyuta Prabhu Mataji is there?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Pranam Prabhu.
Pranam Mataji.
Tatchavaprutchamimam vipruche vibhrashya vipra iti krutyatayam sarvatmanam riyamanaicha krutyam suddham cha tatramrusatabhiyukta.
Translation.
O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die.
I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. So, Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from the Brahmanas or sages assembled there to inform him what his duty should be, or of what is the duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically those who are just about to die, especially because Parikshit Maharaj got the notice of 7 days for his leaving this material world. So how should he prepare for that? Exit from this material world. That is the question that he raised to all the sages assembled there. In this verse, the king has placed two questions before the learned sages. First question is, what is the duty of everyone in all circumstances? And the second question is, what is the specific duty of one who is to die very shortly? Out of the two, the question relating to the dying man is most important, because everyone is a dying man, either very shortly or after 100 years. The duration of life is immaterial, but the duty of a dying man is very important. Maharaja Parikshit placed these two questions before Shukadeva Goswami also on his arrival, and practically the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning from the second canto up to the last, the 12th canto deals with these two questions. So basically the Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing with mainly these two questions. What are the duties that people in general should do, and what is the duty of a person who is going to die? So this all the discussions between different personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam is some or other directly or indirectly connected to these questions. That's what Prabhupada says here. So the conclusion arrived at thereof is that devotional service of Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna, as it is confirmed by the Lord himself in the last phases of the Bhagavad Gita, is the last word in relation to everyone's permanent duty in life. Maharaja Parikshit was already aware of this fact, but he wanted the great sages assembled there to unanimously give their verdict on his conviction, so that he might be able to go on with his confirmed duty without controversy. He knew it, but still he wanted, a confirmation from all those sages assembled there, just for reconfirmation that whatever he is going to do is the right activity. He has especially mentioned the word Shuddha, or perfectly correct, for transcendental realization or self-realization. Many processes are recommended by various classes of people, philosophers. Some of them are first-class methods, and some of them are second or third-class methods. The first-class method demands that one give up all other methods and surrender unto lotus feet of Lord, and thus be saved from all sins and their reactions. So there are different methods to attain perfection: first class, second class, third class. So Parikshit Maharaj wants to take the first class method. Okay, surrender totally unto the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Krishna, and get relief from all the sinful reactions and attain the lotus feet of Krishna in the spiritual world. So this is the purpose. So he wants confirmation from all the sages assembled there. So he is asking this question again: what he should do? What is the best course of action? So, any comments? Haribol, or somebody want to share something? Shall we go forward next? Okay, next. Tatra bhavad bhagavan vyasaputro yadrichayagam adamano anapeksha alakshyalingo nijalabhatushto mridascha baler avadhuta veshaha. Okay, who is there? Diptimati Mataji. Pranam.
Vyasaputro yadrichayaga atamano napeksha alaklingo nijalabhatushto pratascha balet avadhuta vesha.
Haribol. Translation, please.
Translation: At that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva, who traveled all over the earth, disinterested and satisfied with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him.
Haribol. At that moment, as these discussions were going on between Parikshit Maharaj and the sages assembled there, at that moment, what happened? There appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva, who traveled over the earth disinterested and satisfied with himself. So he was not at all interested in the worldly affairs or things of the world, but at the same time had full satisfaction, Atmaram, with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life, because usually in the material world we are all under any varna or ashrama, but this personality, Sukadeva Goswami, was not belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him. He was also surrounded with women and children, and he had dressed also, which others had neglected. So the word Bhagavan is sometimes used in relation with some of the great devotees of the Lord. We also call, Bhagavan Narada. Sometimes we address great personalities Bhagavan. Actually, Bhagavan is a word. Actually, should be addressed to Supreme Lord. But sometimes this title is also given to this great personality of or great devotee of the Supreme Lord, like Shukadeva Goswami. Such liberated souls are disinterested in the affairs of the material world because they are self-satisfied by the great achievements of devotional service. As explained before, Sukadeva Goswami never accepted any formal spiritual master, nor did he undergo any formal reformatory performances. His father, Vyasadeva, was his natural spiritual master because Sukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam from him. After this, he became completely self-satisfied. Thus, he was not dependent on any formal process. The formal processes are necessary for those who are expected to reach the stage of complete liberation, but Sri Sukadeva Goswami was already in that status by the grace of his father. As a young boy, he was expected to be properly dressed, but he went about naked and was uninterested in social customs. He was neglected by the general populace, and inquisitive boys and women surrounded him as he were a madman. Usually, when especially in the current scenario, people go naked, they will call that person as mad, isn't it? He thus appears on the scene while traveling on the earth of his own accord. He was not at all bothered. He was not concerned how he appeared, how he was walking, because he was not of this world. Although he was in this world, he was not of this, because he was on a transcendental platform. He was a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So nothing external touched him, affected him. It appears that upon the inquiry of Maharaja Parikshit, the great sages were not unanimous in their decision as to what was to be done. So all the sages assembled there had different opinions for the question raised by Parikshit Maharaj. What was the question? So what is the duty of every person, in general, and what is the specific duty of a person who is going to die? So the sages there gave different opinion. For spiritual salvation, there were many prescriptions according to different modes of different persons, but the ultimate aim of life is to attain the highest perfection stage of devotional service of the Lord. As doctors differ, so also sages differ in their different prescriptions. While such things were going on, the great and powerful son of Vyasadeva appeared on the scene. So as we all know, the different sages or different munis have their own speculative ideas or opinions. So they were putting forward different solution to Parikshit Maharaj, because they were all on different paths, different spiritual paths. So they had their own different opinions. So it's not surprising. So at that moment of time, who came there? The great and powerful son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami, appeared on the scene. Okay, next. Dhyashtavarsham sukumarapāda karorubhāvam shakapola-gātram charvāyata shonasatulya-karna subhravananam kambu-sujata-kantham. Parvati Mataji and Prabhu.
Tumdvastavarsham sukumarapāda karorubhāvasmakapola-gātram charvāyataksho nasatulya-karna subhravananam kambu-sujata-kantam.
Yes.
Translation: This son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead and other parts of his body were all delicately formed. His eyes were beautifully wide, and his nose and ears were highly raised. He had a very attractive face, and his neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell.
Very good. This son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead and other parts of the body were all delicately formed. His eyes were beautifully white and his nose and ears were highly raised. He had a very attractive face and his neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell. So, description of his personality is given here. A respectable personality is described beginning with the legs, and this honored system is observed here with Sukadeva Goswami. He was only 16 years of age. Person is honored for his achievements and not for advanced age. Person can be older by experience and not by age. Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who is described herein as the son of Vyasadeva, was by his knowledge more experienced than all the sages present there, although he was only 16 years old. So it is not the age that is counted here, it is the experience and the realization that is counted here. Vyasadeva, his own father, much elderly, and many other sages were also there in the assembly. So this personality, Sukadeva Goswami, is only 16 years old, was more experienced and having more knowledge than those assembled there. Nigodajatrum Prututunga Vakshadam Avartanabhim Valgudaram Cha Digambaram Vaktra Vikirnakesham Pralamba Bahum Samarotamabham. Okay. And Rupeshri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Nigudajatrum Pradutunga Vakshasam Avartanabhim Valivadgudaram Cha Digambaram Vaktra Vigirnakesham Pralamba Bahum Somarottamabham.
Simi Mataji, translation please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Krishna.
His collarbone was fleshy, his chest broad and thick, his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully striped. His arms were long and curly hair was strewn over his beautiful face. He was naked and the hue of his body reflected that of Lord Krishna.
His collarbone was fleshy, his chest broad and thick, his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully stripped. His arms were long and curly hair was strewn over his beautiful face, was naked, and the hue of his body reflected that of Krishna. So further explaining the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami here. His bodily features indicate him to be different from common man. It's not, just like other people. All the signs described in connection with the bodily features of Sukadeva Goswami are uncommon symptoms, typical of great personalities according to physiognomical calculations. His bodily hue resembled that of Lord Krishna, who is the supreme among the gods, demigods and all living beings. So his complexion was that of Lord Krishna's. Okay. We'll go to the next. Shyamam Sadapi Vyavayonga Lakshmiya Srinam Manotnyam Ruchirasmitena Pratyuttidas Te Munaya Swasanebhyas Tallakshanajnabi Guna Varchasam. Padmamukhi Mataji and Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Shyamam Sadapi Vyavayanga Lakshmiya Srinam Manonyam Ruchirasmitena Pratyuttidaste Munaya Swasanebhyas Tallakshananya Abhibhusavashasam.
Translation. He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth. Because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smiles, he was pleasing to women. Though he tried to cover his natural glories, the great sages present there were all expert in the art of physiognomy, and so they honored him by raising from their seats.
He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth, because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smiles. He was pleasing to women. Though he tried to cover his natural glories, the great sages present there were all expert in the art of physiognomy, and so they honored him by rising from their seats. He was so effulgent, it was so attractive. So all those assembled there also raised from their seat to respect him. Next. Savishnuratho Adithaya Agatayam Tasmai Saparyam Shirasa Jahara Tato Nivrtahi Abuddha Striyo Ardhaka Mahasane Shopa Vivesha Pujita. Arvind Prabhu and Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Savishnu Atitaya Agataya Tasmai Saparyam Sirasa Jahara Tato Nivrittahi Abuddha Striyor Bhaka Mahasane Sopa Vivesha Pujitaha.
Very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Maharaja Parikshit, who is also known as Vishnu Radha, one who is always protected by Vishnu, bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Sukadeva Goswami. At that time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Sukadeva. Receiving respect from all, Sukadeva Goswami took his exalted seat.
Very good. Maharaja Parikshit, who is also known as Vishnu Ratha, one who is always protected by Vishnu. We know that why he got this name, because in the womb of his mother, Lord Vishnu came and protected when the Brahmastra was, coming to destroy the womb of Uttara. So bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Sukadeva Goswami. At that time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Sukadeva. Receiving respect from all, Sukadeva Goswami took his exalted seat. So Maharaja Parikshit, bowed his head to receive Sukadeva Goswami. At that time, what happened? The women and boys who were surrounding him and following him stopped. They came to that he is not ordinary person, because all the sages and including Maharaja Parikshit respected them and gave him a raised seat, exalted seat, and he occupied that seat. So on Sukadeva Goswami's arrival at the meeting, everyone except Srila Vyasadeva, Narada and few others stood up. And Maharaja Parikshit, who was glad to receive a great devotee of the Lord, bowed down before him with all limbs of his body. Sukadeva Goswami also exchanged the greetings and reception by embrace, shaking hands, nodding and bowing down. Especially before his father and Narada Muni, because they are respectable, because one is Narada Muni is great devotee of the Lord and Vyasadeva is father. Thus he was offered the presidential seat at the meeting. When he was so received by the kings and sages, the street boys and less intelligent women who followed him were struck with wonder and fear. So they retired from their frivolous activities, and everything was full of gravity and calm. Because the women and children followed him, thought that he is a mad person, although he was looking totally different, not an ordinary person. But when all the sages respected and he was given an elevated seat, all of them very slowly left. Okay. Sasamrita Satra Mahan Mahish Mahiyasam Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sankhai Vyarochatalam Bhagavan Yathendur Graharsha Tara Nikarai Paritaha. Okay. Okay. Yes, Rupeshri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Sasamvridastatra mahan mahiyasam brahmarshi rajarshi devarshi sanghai virochatalam bhagavan adhendur graharksha tarani parita.
Manoj Prabhu, translation please.
Krishna Prabhuji. Sukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, plants, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous and he was respected by all.
Very good. Sukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. Presence was gorgeous and he was respected by all. In the great assembly of saintly personalities, there was Vyasadeva, the Brahmarshi Narada, the Devarshi Parasurama, the great ruler of the Kshatriya kings, etc. Some of them are powerful incarnations of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami was not known as Brahmarshi, Rajarshi, or Devarshi, nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, or Parasurama. And yet he excelled them in respects paid. This means that the devotee of the Lord is more honored in the world than the Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of a devotee like Sukadeva Goswami. So Sukadeva Goswami was not having any title like Brahmarshi, Rajarshi, Devarshi, nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, and Parasurama. But at the same time, he was given more respect, than given to others like, Vyasadeva, Narada, and Parasurama. So such a great exalted personality, Sukadeva Goswami. Prashantamasinamakundamedasam munim nrupo bhagavato abhyupetya pranamya murdha vahita kritanjaler natva gira sunartayana vaprichat. Okay, Achyuta Prabhu and Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prashantamasena makhuntamedhasam munim nrupo bhagavato bhyupetya pranamya murtha vahita krutanjali dratva girasu nrutayan vapruchat.
The sage Sukadeva Goswami sat perfectly satisfied, intelligent, and ready to answer any question without hesitation. The great devotee Maharaj Parikshit approached him, offered his respect by bowing before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. Hare Krishna.
Perfectly pacified, intelligent, and ready to answer any question without hesitation. The great devotee Maharaja Parikshit approached him, offered his respects by bowing before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. The gesture now adopted by Maharaja Parikshit of questioning a master is quite befitting in terms of scriptural injunctions. The scriptural injunction is that one should humbly approach a spiritual master to understand the transcendental science. Maharaja Parikshit was now prepared for meeting his death, and within the very short time of 7 days, he was to know the process of entering the kingdom of God. In such important cases, one is required to approach a spiritual master. There is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master unless one is in need of solving the problems of life. One who does not know how to put questions before the spiritual master has no business seeing him. And the qualification of the spiritual master is perfectly manifested in the person of Sukadeva Goswami. Both the spiritual master and the disciple, namely Sri Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaja Parikshit, attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami learned Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadeva, but he had no chance to recite it. Before Maharaja Parikshit, he recited Srimad Bhagavatam and answered the questions of Maharaja Parikshit unhesitatingly, and thus both the master and the disciple got salvation. So this is how one has to approach a spiritual master, as Lord Krishna clearly states in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So when you meet a spiritual master, we have to first pay obeisances, pranam, pranipat, pariprasnena, we have to inquire, about what? Not material things, spiritual things, for our spiritual advancement or upliftment. Who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? Why I am in this material world? What is my destination? How can I get my destination? So such questions should be raised, and how it should be asked with submission, not in argumentative mode, with total submission and sevaya. We have to serve the spiritual master also. So when we apply these three aspects, pranam, pariprashna and sevaya, then he becomes a perfect disciple. And the spiritual master also should be like that, like Sukadeva Goswami, learned. He must have realized the absolute truth. Only then he can impart the realized knowledge to his disciples. So exactly, like a proper spiritual master and a proper disciple, Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj met, and Parikshit Maharaj paid his obeisances, and now he is going to ask the questions pertaining to his life, not any worldly affairs, not any questions relating to the worldly affairs. Let us go to the next. Parikshit uvacha aho adya vayam brahman satsevya kshetra bandhava kripayati iti rupena bhavadbhis tirthakha kritaham. Diptimati Mataji.
Parikshitu vacha aho adya vayam brahman satsevya kshetra bandhavaha yatiti rupena bhavadhis tirthaka krita.
Very good. Translation also please, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. The fortunate King Parikshit said, O Brahmana, by your mercy only, you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage, all by your presence here as my guest. By your mercy, we, who are but unworthy royalty, become eligible to serve the devotee.
Very good. The fortunate King Parikshit said, O Brahmana, by your mercy only you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage, all by your presence here as my guest. By your mercy, we who are but unworthy loyalty become eligible to serve the devotees. So, because why Parikshit Maharaj is addressed, as fortunate? Because Sukadeva Goswami, when with his presence, is a great exalted devotee, pure devotee of the Lord. By his presence, that place becomes a place of pilgrimage. And and whatever contamination is there, everything will be destroyed by the very presence of a pure devotee. Wherever pure devotees goes, that place become very, very pure. So that's why here Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed as a very fortunate king. And he is also fortunate because he has got a chance to serve a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. Saintly devotees like Sukadeva Goswami generally do not approach worldly enjoys, especially those in royal orders. Maharaja Prataprudra was a follower of Lord Chaitanya, but when he wanted to see the Lord refused to see him because he was a king. For a devotee who decides to go back to Godhead, two things are strictly prohibited: worldly enjoys and women. Therefore, devotees of the standard of Sukadeva Goswami are never interested in seeing kings. Maharaja Parikshit, of course, a different case, was a great devotee, although a king, and therefore Sukadeva Goswami came to see him in his last stage of life. Maharaja Parikshit out of his devotional humility, felt himself an unworthy descendant of his great Kshatriya forefathers, although he was as great as his predecessors. The unworthy son of the royal orders are called Kshatra Bandhavas, as the unworthy sons of the Brahmanas are called Dvija Bandhus or Brahma Bandhus. Maharaja Parikshit was generally encouraged by the presence of Sukadeva Goswami. He felt himself sanctified by the presence of the great saint, whose presence turns any place into a place of pilgrimage. So Prabhupada in the purport clearly states, Maharaja Pratap was also a pure devotee of the Lord, follower of Lord Chaitanya, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not give him audience. It took so many, so much of his attempts to give him, and at last, it's not directly when he was sleeping and he was totally in ecstasy in the garden of Jagannath Puri. That time, taking the dress of a pure devotee, not in the attire of a king, he approached. Then that time only he could get the darshan. But why is that Sukadeva Goswami gave darshan to Parikshit Maharaj? Although he was also a king. He was also with his family and all the opulence he was enjoying. But because he has already left the kingdom, he has renounced everything and he has come, and it is his last phase of his life. So before that, Sukadeva Goswami did not give audience, he did not go and meet him. So this is the last phase of his life. So Sukadeva Goswami came here. So that's the difference. Esham samsmaranat pumsam sadhya sudhyanti vaigraha kim punar darshana sparsha pada saucha sanadibhi. Okay, Padmamukhi Mataji and Prabhu.
Samsmarana pumsa sadhya sudhyanti vaigraha kim puna darshana sparsha pada saucha sanadibihi.
Translation.
Translation. Simply by our remembering you, our houses become instantly sanctified. And what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat in our home.
Simply by our remembering you, our houses becomes instantly sanctified. And what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering a seat in our home. So this is, the speciality of exalted personality. Simply by remembering, everything can be sanctified instantly. So what to speak of when we see him, touch him, and serve him. So this is Maharaja Parikshit saying. The importance of holy places of pilgrimage is due to the presence of great sages and saints. It is said that sinful persons go to the holy places and leave their sins there to accumulate. But the presence of the great saints disinfects the accumulated sins, and thus the holy places continue to remain sanctified by the grace of the devotees and saints present there. So general public go there and take dip in the holy rivers, and so we all make them contaminated. And who sanctifies that? The saintly personalities. When they go, they make it pure. So if such saints appear in the homes of worldly people, certainly the accumulated sins of such worldly enjoyers become neutralized. We know the story of Anjanaya, Hanuman and Narada. When Hanuman was small kid, Narada, he made Narada to run around in his ashram, in his house. Why? Because he wanted the lotus footprint of Devarshi Narada in his house, because it sanctifies. That's why. So similarly here also the saintly personalities presence in a world-minded people's home makes that house, the householders, everything purified. So certainly the accumulated sins of such worldly enjoys become neutralized. Therefore, the holy saints actually have no self-interest with the householders. So when the saintly personalities come home, as sadhus or mendicants, we should not think that, they are ordinary people. They are coming to beg alms. They are not. They are coming for our good, to sanctify us, to purify us. The only aim of such saints is to sanctify the houses of the householders, and the householders therefore should feel grateful when such saints and sages appear at their doors. A householder who dishonors such holy orders is a great offender. It is enjoined, therefore, that a householder who does not bow down before a saint at once must undergo fasting for a day in order to neutralize the great offense. So it's a great offense if you don't pay respects to the saintly personalities. If you do this such a mistake, as a penance, as a repentance, we should at least fast one day as a repentance. So this is what Prabhupada says in this purport. Sanidhyate mahadyogin patakani mahantyapi sadyo nashyandi vaipumsam iva suretaraham. Okay. Arvind Prabhu and Mataji.
Sannidayate mahayogin padakani mahanti api sadhyo nashyandi vaipumsam Vishnor iva suredaraha.
Very bold.
Translation. Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence. O saint, O great mystic. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence. O saint, O great mystic. So it's, Parikshit Maharaj is glorifying the Sukadeva Goswami. So we have to understand from this that whenever saintly personalities, exalted devotees comes, it is our duty to glorify them. By glorifying the supreme, by exalted devotees, the Supreme Lord also will be very pleased. So all of us, why we are glorifying the personalities when we do, pranam, we are doing, reciting the pranam mantra, pramadhvani. So this is just in glorification, Jai, Jai. We are all, saying Jai. Jaya Mokshupada Paramamsa Paruja Gajara, like that. We are all glorifying, before starting and after, completing some spiritual activities. We are all glorifying, because without their mercy, we cannot do anything. So we have to invoke their mercy. So we are glorifying exalted devotees and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's our duty to glorify. Now that Sukadeva Goswami is there present and he has come there, so Parikshit Maharaj is glorifying Sukadeva Goswami in different ways, pointing out his characters and his qualities. So there are two classes of human beings, namely the atheist and the devotee of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord, because of manifesting godly qualities, is called a demigod, whereas the atheist is called a demon. Demon cannot stand the presence of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Demons are always busy in trying to vanquish the personality of Godhead. But factually, as soon as personality of Godhead appears, by either his transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, or variegatedness, the demon is at once vanquished. It is said that the ghost cannot remain as soon as the holy name of Lord is chanted. The great saints and devotees of the Lord are in the list of his paraphernalia, and thus, as soon as saintly devotees present, the ghostly sins are at once vanquished. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. One is recommended, therefore, to associate only with saintly devotees, so that worldly demons and ghosts cannot exert that sinister influence. So wherever the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there, or his names are chanted, or his pastimes are narrated, the demons cannot stay there. Okay, just like the Harikatha is being discussed, the ghost cannot remain there. Okay, so wherever Harikatha or glorification of Supreme Lord is happening, there the ghosts and goblins cannot remain there. They will immediately leave. They cannot be there. They cannot be present there. अपि मे भगवान प्रीता कृष्ण पांडु सुता प्रियः पेतेर स्वसेय प्रीत्यर्थम तद गोत्रस्याद बांधवः. राजेश्वर प्रभु.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
अपि मे भगवान् प्रीतं कृष्णपाण्डु सुता प्रियः पैतृश्वासेय प्रीत्यार्थं बान्धवः.
Very good. Translation, Prabhuji.
Lord Krishna, the person of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King of Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great conscience and brothers.
Very good. The personality of God who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers. A pure and exclusive devotee of the Lord serves his family interest more dexterously than others who are attached to illusory family affairs. Generally, people are attached to family matters, and the whole economic impetus of human society is moving under the influence of family affection. Such deluded persons have no information that one can render better service to the family by becoming a devotee of the Lord. The Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of a devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. Maharaja Prahlada was a great devotee of the Lord, but his father Hiranyakashipu was a great atheist and declared enemy of the Lord. But despite all this, Hiranyakashipu was awarded salvation due to his being the father of Maharaja Prahlada. The Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotee, and thus the devotee has no need to bother about his family members, even if one leaves such family members aside to discharge devotional service. Maharaja Yudhishthira, as his brothers were the sons of Kundi, the paternal aunt of Lord Krishna, and Maharaja Parikshit admits the patronage of Lord Krishna because of his being the only grandson of the great Pandavas. So in a family, if there is one devotee, the other persons are not even practicing spiritual practice or devotional service, all of them gets benefit. Just like the example is given of Prahlad Maharaj. Just because of he being a pure devotee of the Lord, even his father, a demon, was given salvation or awarded salvation by the Supreme Lord. So here, Parikshit Maharaj is also, great grandson of Pandu's sons. Okay, so because of that relation, he is a special person in that family, and the Pandavas have got a very special connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is what in this purport Prabhupada gives. So it is better, even if we are not practicing Krishna consciousness, at least our children who becomes a pure devotee, it will be a great benefit for all of us, so that by their influence, by their purity, we all can get liberated from this material existence, even though we may not be practicing Krishna consciousness very nicely as we are supposed to practice. But if we can make one devotee in our family, this is a very great blessings for all of us. So we should give this to our family people, to our near and dear. So because of their purity, we also get some benefit. It's not that we should not practice, but if we are not successful in our this thing, at least by the presence of the pure devotee in our family, that will be a great benefit for all of us. Anyatha te avyakta darshanam na kadam nrinam nitaram mriyamananam samsiddhasya maniyasaha. Okay. Bhagavati Mataji and Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Anyata te avyaktakate darshanam na katam pranam nitaram mriyamananam samsiddhayatya vanishyaha.
Krishna Prabhu. Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death?
Very good. Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death? So Parikshit Maharaj is telling, how is that you have just suddenly appeared from nowhere? So this is definitely because you have been inspired by Lord Krishna to come and help me. So this is what Parikshit Maharaj is telling. The great sage Sukadeva Goswami was certainly inspired by Lord Krishna to appear voluntarily before Maharaja Parikshit, the great devotee of the Lord, just to give him the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the nucleus of the devotional service of the Lord by the mercy of the spiritual master and the personality of Godhead. The spiritual master is the manifested representative of the Lord to help one achieve ultimate success. One who is not authorized by the Lord cannot become a spiritual master. Srila Sukadeva Goswami is an authorized spiritual master, and thus he was inspired by the Lord to appear before Maharaja Parikshit and instruct him in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the ultimate success of going back to God if he is favored by the Lord's sending his true representative. As soon as a true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee of the Lord, the devotee is assured a guarantee for going back to God just after leaving the present body. This, however, depends on the sincerity of the devotee himself. Lord is seated in the heart of all living entities, and thus he knows very well the movements of all individual persons. As soon as the Lord finds that a particular soul is very eager to go back to Godhead, the Lord at once sends his bona fide representative. The sincere devotee is thus assured by the Lord of going back to Godhead. The conclusion is that to get the assistance and help of a bona fide spiritual master means to receive the direct help of the Lord himself. So here in the purport, Prabhupada gives a very wonderful point. It is if you have an intense desire to practice spirituality, by the mercy of Lord, we will get a spiritual master. Okay, Lord sends a spiritual master to us if we are having that intense desire to practice Krishna consciousness. And by the mercy of spiritual master, we get back Krishna. We can go back to Krishna. So it is said by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanji Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. So we have been wandering in this material world in different species for millions and millions of years in different species, taking birth, dying, again taking birth, again dying, like that. But after getting this human form of life, when we develop this interest to do devotional service, who helps us? Krishna helps us. Krishna sends a spiritual master to us, and with the guidance of the spiritual master, we'll be eligible to go back home, back to Godhead, because then we'll be taking up Krishna consciousness very nicely. So that is how. So Krishna sends a spiritual master to us. With his mercy and guidance, we'll be able to attain Krishna back. So here, Parikshit Maharaj was also having, he's not an ordinary person like us, but he was also having an intense desire to get the real instruction that what he is supposed to do when he is about to die. So that desire, that intense desire to have the association of a great personality, because of that intense desire, Krishna automatically inspired Sukadeva Goswami from within, and he appeared there. So Parikshit Maharaj is telling that because of Lord Krishna's instruction or inspiration only, Sukadeva Goswami appeared there. This is what Prabhupada says here. So Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. And next is 37. So please make a note of that. 1.19.37.